Good morning. Welcome to Brandon Marsh Nature Reserve. We're here today to talk to Ed Green, who's the new Chief Executive of Warwickshire Wildlife Trust. Hi Ed.
Hi Steve.
Thanks for joining us this morning. How did you embark on a career in conservation?
Well Steve, I think it was a sort of natural progression from a real interest in biology. That's what I really loved at school, and I went and did a couple of degrees, had some time teaching, did a bit of research, but it wasn't really a conscious decision. It was more of an evolution from that background, and anybody who has an interest in the natural world can see that it needs a bit of help, and conservation is one way that can happen.
Why did you decide to move to Warwickshire Wildlife Trust? Because you were previously Chief Executive of Derbyshire.
Yeah, I had 7 very happy years in Derbyshire, but fundamentally I think that a Chief Executive can outstay his or her stint at a charity. And I felt that I'd achieved a lot of what I wanted to do in Derbyshire. I felt it was a good moment to hand over to someone else. And let's be frank, there was an opportunity in Warwickshire. I really wanted to stay with the wildlife trusts. I think it's a fantastic model that operates really well here in across the whole of the United Kingdom. I saw an opportunity to cross from the east to the West Midlands, and I knew the reputation of the Warwickshire Wildlife Trust, so it was quite an easy decision. Though I did give it some careful thought. Yeah.
What do you feel are the key challenges facing Warwickshire Wildlife Trust today?
Well, I think there's the specific ones. How to improve the environment in Warwickshire. How do we go about creating living landscapes? What does that mean? We know we can describe it in theory. We've got 61 nature reserves, but when we come to really look at how they can be connected up and joined up and buffered, we run into some very substantial practical problems around money, willingness of landowners to work with us, our ability to really express the vision. Those sorts of problems and challenges are not unique to Warwickshire. They're the same for any nature conservation working at landscape scales in any part of the United Kingdom. Of course, when you look at Warwickshire, HS2 is a really specific issue. It could be the mechanism for joining up so many habitats that I just mentioned, or it could be, and it unfortunately is looking likely at the moment, to be a massive barrier to connectivity across the whole of the country, the whole of southern England, let alone Warwickshire, but it could effectively and biologically speaking cut our county in half. So that's a major specific challenge.
What do you see the strengths of Warwickshire Wildlife Trust and the Wildlife Trust movement as a whole?
Wildlife Trust movement as a whole, the strengths are roots in the local communities. The fact that we here in Warwickshire have got nearly 24,000 members, they all, with 1 or 2 exceptions, live within the county. They all are helping us to improve the natural environment on their doorstep. They're all customers of local businesses, they're all voters for local politicians. It's that connectivity with the people who live in the areas that we're trying to work that is such a strength of the Wildlife Trust and such a strength of Warwickshire Wildlife Trust. I think another great strength of Warwickshire Wildlife Trust is our subsidiary trading company, Middlemarch. It is unique amongst the Wildlife Trust in terms of its reach and its scope and its size, and the financial contributions it makes to the charity to carry out its business. It's a clear strength that is different from any other wildlife trust.
Do you have any particular areas in wildlife or conservation that you're particularly interested in?
The wildlife that gets me most excited these days is the stuff that I see in my garden and the stuff that I see around about my house, because that's what I interact with. Yes, I enjoy the odd holiday. I was lucky enough to go on safari this year, and that was brilliant. But what really gets me excited is something very close to where I live that I come across in the course of the other stuff that I do. So a grass snake in the garden, that's as good as as any whale in the sea or lion on the veldt.
And what is your most memorable wildlife experience?
Oh, easy. It was on a dive on a small island in the Caribbean called South Caicos, where I was working at a field station, and myself and a good friend had anchored the boat, and we were swimming towards a drop-off, which was where the topography of the reef just plunged several hundred metres down. So we were in a depth of about 18 metres. Big blue in front of us, lots of fish swimming around. Nothing that we dived at this site many times before, and as we got to the edge, a humpback whale swam over, came out from the deep and came over the drop-off. So, I'd seen whales before, but always in boats where you'd spotted them and you knew they were there. I mean, this was something the size of a double-decker bus, just appeared out of the blue, quite literally, and then it swam. It was coming up to breathe, it checked and swam. It did a pass in front of us, turned around and then came back. And the most incredible thing was the pupil in its eye, which was about the size of a dinner plate, tracked from one side to the other. And this thing was watching us as we hovered there,
So you had that
palpitating.
real connection.
Yeah, it stopped what it was doing, turned, looked at us, decided that it wasn't going to bother with us anymore, went up, took a breath, and then went back down again. Just incredible. But favourite UK animal is definitely the hummingbird hawk moth. And the reason is, it's in the garden, like I said a few minutes ago. It's something that I tend to see every year. And there are two reasons why I like it. I mean, it's beautifully exotic. I mean, it looks like a hummingbird in my garden, I mean, how random is that? And the beautiful thing is it appears at the same time in the same place every single day in the season. So once I've spotted it, I can go out there again at 2 o'clock by the lavender and look at it again, and blow me down, it comes within 5 minutes. It's just amazing, and it's also the sort of thing that you can get your children and out of the house and friends and come and say, come and have a look at this. You can guarantee it's there, and everybody goes away excited. So it's a beautiful creature.
What would your advice be to anybody looking to pursue a career in conservation?
Do it. It isn't easy. It takes hard work, but the employment is getting into the employment that you really want to do is rarely going to be just straightforward. But volunteer, get as much experience as you can, get as much knowledge as you can, live it and breathe it. But just go for it, and don't be put off by by some of the barriers which are definitely there, and keep going. Just keep going. Trust to your own skills and
Just
to luck
persevere,
and
basically.
persevere.
Okay. If you had your time again, would you do anything differently?
Well, I probably would. I mean, in another universe, maybe there's another version of myself, some sort of avatar that did medicine. I mean, I was biologically minded. I was scientific. It was biology and science were the things, and particularly chemistry, that really got me interested in my late teens at school. And I could easily see that had I not decided to go down the biological route, I would have perhaps gone into some sort of medicine. But really never actually crossed my mind. That's a sort of hypothetical answer to a very hypothetical question.
And if you had one wish, what would that be?
One wish, to win the MotoGP.
Right, okay. Brilliant. So you're into motorsports then?
Well, I rode bikes for a while and survived. I decided to stop doing that about 7 or 8 years ago. It was a flippant answer, but I would have quite liked to do that. But if I had, on a more serious basis, a more serious answer to that question would be, I'd like humanity to wake up and realise that actually we're animals, and that we're as much part of the natural environment as any plant or any other creature on this planet, and that we need them really out of pure self-interest, and that because we're technically minded and we've got all of this wonderful invention and industry, it doesn't divorce us, it doesn't separate us from the need to have a healthy environment, and it has. There's undoubtedly over the last few centuries we somehow now regard ourselves as being separate or being able to solve everything with a technical innovation. We can't. We're animals, and if we don't look after the natural world, then it won't look after us.
What are your passions in your spare time?
Well, I enjoy playing squash. That's my main sport. I cross-country run, which I find very bizarre. I do love it, but when I was 18 at school, I absolutely detested being forced out on cross-country runs, and I now do it for pleasure. I walk the dog. I play with my children. These are the sort of things that I enjoy in my spare time.
And where would your favourite holiday destination be if money was no object and you could go right now? Where would you head off to?
I'd go somewhere that I hadn't been, and that would be the Antarctic. Yeah, maybe the Arctic as well, but to one of the poles.
Sure.
I've never been anywhere seriously cold. I'd love to see a polar bear. Love to see some of the Arctic mammals as well, leopard seals, narwhals, something like that, yes. If money was no object, I could guarantee all of that.
Go
Be
to
there in
that.
a flash, yes.
What would your favourite music be when you're trying to relax?
My favourite music? Well, my favourite band is actually AC/DC. It's not exactly relaxing music.
And finally, Ed, what was the last book that you read?
It's a great book, and I can recommend it to anybody. It was called Deep Sea and Foreign Going. It was by an author called Rose George, and it's an expose of the international shipping industry. It's amazing. It's amazing. The tagline is an inside look into the industry that brings you 90% of everything, and it is utterly fascinating. Yeah.
So thank you, Ed, for answering those questions and joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
And yeah, hopefully you'll have a good time here at Warwickshire Wildlife Trust.
Sure will. Thank you.